My girlfriend cheated on me with my cousin years later. He asked me to be his best man. So I agreed for revenge. I once looked up to my cousin, who I thought was a great guy. We were as close as brothers. At the time, I was deeply in love with my girlfriend and planned to marry her someday. Everything in my life seemed perfect. Then one day, a colleague offered to cover my shift, so I went home early. I was pretty tired, so I figured I'd take the opportunity to get some rest, but when I walked into my house, I found my girlfriend and my cousin in bed together. They were as shocked to see me as I was to see them. I didn't even argue, I just told them to be gone by the time I got back and walked out. When I returned later, they were gone, but my girlfriend had left me a note apologizing and asking me to call her once I calmed down. I didn't bother. I texted her, telling her I'd gather her things and drop them off at my cousin's place in a few days. I made it clear she was staying with him now, not me. It took about a week to move all of her stuff. Both of them tried to apologize, but I didn't want to hear it. I had nothing nice to say, so I stayed silent. I would just knock on the door, hand the bags to whoever answered, and leave without a word. My cousin called me multiple times, trying to apologize, but I ignored him and eventually blocked his number. I went out of contact with both of them. 3 years passed. I never told my family or any of our mutual friends what happened. I'm not sure why, I just didn't. Then, out of the blue, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize, so I answered it. It was my cousin. He sounded incredibly happy, acting as if nothing had happened between us. He explained that he and my ex were getting married and wanted me to be his best man. I was furious that he had the audacity to act like nothing was wrong, and I lost my temper. I yelled at him, called him names, and hung up. Later, he texted me saying the offer still stood, and if I didn't want to be his best man, he simply wouldn't have won. After a few days, I had an idea. I texted him back, apologized, and sent a long paragraph of fake sincerity, saying I was still angry, but this could be an opportunity for the three of us to heal and move past it. He was overjoyed and said he'd cover all the costs and help me pick out a suit if I wanted. I accepted because there was no way I was spending any money on his wedding if I could help it. The wedding day finally arrived, and I had spent the week prior crafting a speech that channeled all the negative feelings I'd bottled up over the years into words. The wedding was extravagant, indicating that one of them must have a well-paying job. Our entire family was there, along with a decent number of my ex's family. Eventually, it was time for my speech. I felt a wave of nervousness build up as the moment approached. My voice kept faltering as I read my speech, but I didn't care and I still don't. At least I got it out. I explained to everyone what these two horrible people had done to me. I called them the worst names I could think of and wished them the worst. Then I walked out. I was expecting some dramatic reactions from the guests, gasps of shock and all that, but there was none of that. Everyone was silent. On my way home, I got a call from my mother, who angrily told me that I'd ruined the wedding and that both my cousin and my ex were extremely upset. She asked me why I would do such a thing. I told her they deserved it for what they'd done to me and that everything I said in the speech was true. She kept defending them, so I swore at her and hung up. Since then, I've gotten several calls and texts from others in my family and my ex's family, angry that I ruined the wedding. I've also received a few texts from people who were there, being supportive and telling me they're there if I need to talk. I'm not sure if I feel better having done this, but it brought me great catharsis when people told me the wedding was ruined. At least now they've felt a fraction of what they made me feel. Edit to address some questions. As far as I'm aware, the rest of the family wasn't aware of her cheating on me. They likely knew we were dating at some point and then we weren't. I've learned from previous experiences that I can't rely on my family for any kind of support, so I've been in low contact with them since I moved out of my parents' house, which is why I didn't mention this to anyone in my family. A lot of people are also asking for the speech transcript. I wrote it in a Google Doc and read it out from my phone. The delivery was kind of lackluster. I sounded like I was going to cry and tripped over my words, but I managed to read it all out. It isn't verbatim what I said, but it's very close, as I was reading from this as a general script. Hello everyone. I'm not very good at public speaking, so apologies in advance. It's an honor to be at this wedding, and an even greater honor to be the best man. I was shocked that I was even invited at all since the last time I'd spoken to the bride and groom was when I'd found them in my own bed. Ex's name was my partner at the time, you see, but I don't think she got the memo that when you're dating someone, you don't F their cousin in your partner's own bed. And it wasn't like cousin's name didn't know we were dating either. Who knows how long this slimy cunt was F'ing her behind my back? Weeks? Months? For those unaware, ex and I had been dating for 2 years. I loved her with all my heart and was actually saving up to get a proposal ring. Maybe if ex wasn't such a BH, cousin would be giving this speech instead, and I wouldn't have been struggling with mental health for 3 years. Anyway, I've heard 50% of marriages end in divorce. I hope yours is messy one. From the bottom of my heart, fuck you both. You ruined my life, and I will never forgive either of you. Update. My mom tried to talk to me and said she saw the post I'd made. I pushed her away for a few days before finally speaking to her. I'm struggling to find words to describe how things worked out between us. The easiest way to explain it is that we agreed to disagree on whether what I'd done was correct. I got a mix of messages from those who were present at the wedding, some supportive, some telling me off. I was struggling a lot. I've just gone back to simply functioning, like I was before the wedding, after I came down from getting my own back. I don't at all regret what I did, and I still feel satisfied that I got payback. I was making plans to take my own life about a month after the wedding. I hadn't told anyone for obvious reasons, but my mom, uncle, and cousin, same cousin whose wedding I ruined, came to me and told me they'd pay for a private counselor since the mental health department of the NHS is under-equipped to say the least. I went to therapy. I found a counselor who was very helpful. He taught me a lot. I got diagnosed with PTSD, caused by the discovery of the affair. He's been a big help and has encouraged me to give casual dating a try to build confidence in myself and get used to rejection as a normal part of life. I signed up to a few dating sites, although I'm avoiding Tinder like the plague. My counselor specifically suggested I stay as far away from Tinder as I possibly can. I've not been very successful in that avenue, but it's pretty much in line with what I was expecting. I've talked to a few people and even got a date scheduled, but she stood me up and ghosted me, which hurt. I'm doing good though. Much better. I don't have thoughts hurtling myself very often anymore. Whenever I'm feeling especially crap, I like to open up Reddit and read your supportive messages. That's all for now. Thanks from all my heart.